Hey, welcome to my channel. It's time I did an updated video on my Stinkpot turtles or musk turtles. It was brought to my attention that my last care video was 6 years ago, and I never felt much of the need to update the video because I stand by everything in that care video. These are the same turtles. I've had them for 7 years. They've always been thriving, so I still do recommend that video, but this is an updated video because 6 years is a long time. So I'm going to talk about everything that I've learned about keeping these turtles over the years. So Stinkpot turtles or common musk turtles are a tiny aquatic turtle, and they can live a long time like pretty much all turtles. So they are a commitment. I call my two turtles the Jimmies because their names are Hendrix and Paige. You can see in my first video how much smaller these turtles are. I've been sharing them in other videos and on Instagram, but I haven't made a full long form video of them. So you may have noticed that they have grown in size quite a bit. They won't grow anymore. They are still small. So these guys are freshwater turtles, and they grow about 3 to 5 inches. They can live 30 to 50 years. So these guys are only 7, so they're still young. That's why this is a very long-term commitment. They're pretty shy, but over the years they've gotten used to me and their environment and just the things going on around outside of their tank. So they have definitely become a lot braver, and I can see their personality coming through. Even though they are shy, they have always been very curious. They always want to check out when I add new driftwood or something new in their enclosure. They are quick to explore it. Their name Stinkpot is because they do release an odor, although I've never smelt this odor, which is a good sign because they will release it when they are feeling threatened or when they're scared. So I think it's good that they've never felt threatened or threatened enough to release the odor around me. That's got to be a good sign. But I have heard that in captivity they do rarely release it, so if you're worried that these will be smelly animals, don't worry, they won't be. The only smell may be if you don't clean their water enough. So they are aquatic, they need water, and they also need a basking area. A minimum size tank I would say is 20 gallons. This tank that I have is 30 gallons. It does seem like more than enough space. There's never been any aggression or fighting for anything in the tank, although I would like to give them a larger enclosure. But 30 gallons for these two has been working just perfectly fine. There's never been conflict or aggression. I just try to provide the best life that I can, and I do think a larger enclosure would be better for them since there are two, but a 30 gallon for one is perfect. A longer tank is better than a taller tank, so if I would choose again, I would get a longer one instead of just this kind of standard size. These turtles are bottom dwellers, meaning that they don't really swim vertically, they swim horizontally, so a longer rectangle shape is better. They're not great swimmers. I definitely see a difference between these guys and my red-eared slider, who is a better swimmer, but they still can swim pretty good. I've never noticed them struggle, even though I have the water a lot deeper than I see recommended online. There's never been any problems or issues. I have a lot of driftwood, things for them to climb up. There's never really a space in the tank where they don't have something that they can grab onto. They are often hanging on to the driftwood and just floating, and they seem to really enjoy the space that they do have. I even have an aquarium water pump that circulates the air. It does create a stronger current, and at first I was worried that it would be too strong for them and they would struggle swimming in it or it would bother them, but it doesn't at all, and it never has, even right from the beginning. This water pump, also known as a power head, I really do recommend using one, but keeping an eye on if your turtle is finding it difficult to swim and struggling with the current. These power heads circulate the water, so the water moves through the filter and cleans the water better. It also circulates the debris and anything, so the tank is staying cleaner, a lot cleaner with this power head. It also creates more oxygen in the water, which is better. So when it comes to heating and lighting, which is really important for all turtles, even these guys that don't come out to bask that often, although they still do like to bask, I've noticed with basking platforms, having something that is slightly submerged, like a ramp, they really do enjoy. They don't often come out fully, their full body out. They like a gradual slope where they can maybe stick their head out and have their body covered, or have half their body out and the rest covered. They bask a lot more or come to the surface a lot more when they have this gradual slope where they can be partially underwater and partially above. You need to have a UVB light, and the basking area should be warmer. So I have 2 lights. UVB light is really important for shell growth and bone health. The overall water is heated the same as you would for a typical freshwater aquarium, around 70 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and the basking area around 85 to 90 degrees. When it comes to the filter, you need a pretty strong filter because turtles are messy. When they eat, there's a lot of debris and they do create a big mess. They're a lot messier than fish, so a strong canister filter is required. Some people recommend taking the turtles out and having a separate place where they feed them, although I've never found the need to do that. They are messy, but the filter cleans it up just fine. I've never had a problem with the tank being too dirty. I do a water change every week, about 30% water change once a week, although I'll admit sometimes I skip a week and every second week I'll end up doing it, but for probably 90% of the time it will be once a week. The UVB light does evaporate the water pretty quickly, so I do have to refill the water. So basically I have to do a water change every week to keep the water level high enough for the filter. Although keep in mind that you don't want the water too high, because once one of the turtles was basking and they must have fallen off and they fell out of the tank. Luckily I found him like within an hour. He was still right by the tank and he was completely fine, but that could have gone really bad. It could have been really dangerous. He could have cracked his shell, or my dog could have picked him up. It could have been a disaster. And I'm really lucky that nothing happened, but ever since then I make sure that the water level is low enough that he can't fall out of the tank when he's basking. So I like to provide some enrichment in the tank through plants or driftwood, just things that they can explore because they are really curious and I don't want them to get bored. Different rocks, different floating logs, different basking platforms, moving things around, changing things up. I usually don't like to put in plants, although in my first video I showed you that I did have plants, but they're really too expensive because the turtles will eat them. Sometimes I'll throw in a piece of lettuce or something for them to eat so they get a little bit of greenery, but buying actually aquatic plants is not very cost effective at all because they get eaten really fast. These turtles really need hiding spots. They're always going under driftwood. I have sand in the bottom and they do like to dig and kind of make a little cave for themselves, and they love to hide. I think the fact that they are able to hide gives them a lot of confidence. If they didn't have hiding spots under things, objects that they could go under or hide behind, I think they would feel very insecure, which wouldn't lead to a very high quality life. So it's important that they do have hiding spots. Especially when I have 2 in the tank, I want them to be able to get away from each other. Even though I've never seen them have a problem with each other, I think maybe this is why they do so well together, because they have spaces that they can go to where the other doesn't get in their way. It took them a while to get used to me. They used to be in the hiding spots, but over time they come out. They even come up to the front and look at me through the glass when they see me enter the room. They're a lot of fun to have. Feeding them is a lot of fun too. They are really good eaters. I do feed them turtle pellets. I'll also feed them a variety of different worms. They love bloodworms. As I mentioned, sometimes I will put some lettuce and just have lettuce floating on the top and they will take some bites out of it. Although they don't always, sometimes they will just completely ignore it and I'll have to remove it. But they will always be in the mood for different worms. Red wigglers they love, bloodworms, as I mentioned, mealworms. They also like dried shrimp, the same that you would feed freshwater fish. When it comes to keeping an eye on their health, I'm lucky that I haven't come across any major health issues, but I do often check their eyes, making sure their eyes are clear instead of cloudy. Their shell is fairly smooth. and they still are active. They're swimming normally. They're curious. Nothing in their behavior has had a sudden or drastic change. They're still eating regularly. They're alert when I approach them. I basically never handle them except if I have to take them out. If I'm doing a really big tank change, like changing out driftwood or really sifting through the sand substrate at the bottom and cleaning it, which I do really rarely, maybe like once a year. With the weekly water changes, there just isn't a need to do a huge tank overhaul like that. So I'm really never handling these turtles. But the things that I will look out for is if their shell looks soft or their belly looks soft, if they have shell rot, which would be like white patches, or if they suddenly start to smell strange. Their shell will give a lot of insight into their health. Sometimes I notice like kind of a fuzz on their shell, which is normal. Their shells will look a little pebbly or textured, but overall their shells are fairly smooth. Things to watch out when it comes to looking at their shell for their health. Some warning signs are soft spots or pits, or a shell that is flaking. This could be a fungal or bacterial infection. Shell rot will smell really bad. White patches that can look fuzzy, but it's not the same type of fuzz that is just naturally occurring. This could be a fungal infection. Or if they get pieces of their shell stuck when they are shedding. These turtles don't shed pieces of their shell nearly as much as my red-eared slider, if ever. I don't think I've actually ever found any pieces of their shell when I find my red-eared slider, pieces of his shell just from normal growth, normal shedding of the shell. Although I've read that musk turtles can shed pieces of their shell, I've never seen it. I also look at their eyes and their nose. If there are any bubbles coming from their mouth or their nose, this can be a sign of infection. If I hear gasping or wheezing, this can be a sign of a respiratory issue. If their eyes are swollen, puffy, or completely closed, this is not a good sign unless they are sleeping. They do close their eyes when they sleep. This could be a vitamin A deficiency or a respiratory issue. So if any of these signs, which I haven't come across, I would take them to the vet or an expert. Some behavioral signs to look out for is if they're always hiding, especially if you notice any changes in their behavior, like they come out to look at you, they're curious usually, and then for a period of time they're not like that at all. They're hiding a lot more. Even though they do like to hide, it has to be more like excessive hiding. Obviously if they're floating lopsided or they're not swimming properly. But if you have clean water, if you have the right temperature, UVB light, and a proper diet with calcium, you should be able to avoid all these problems. When it comes to calcium, I should have mentioned this when I was talking about food, but I do give them cuddle bone and they eat that so fast. I'll just throw a piece in and it will float around and they'll devour it really quickly. They love it. And this is a really, really good source of calcium. Overall, I think they're pretty low maintenance compared to some other pets, but they are a very long-term commitment. And I love that they don't need that much space, especially when it comes to other turtles. They are so small and you still get the joy of having a turtle without needing a massively large enclosure or a pond or something like that. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below or share your experience with keeping these types of turtles. And please like and subscribe for similar videos on all different types of animals. Thanks for watching. Bye.
I'm willing to do anything to provide my dogs and cats the best life possible, full of love, joy, harmony. I believe my animals are worth it. I remember wanting to provide the best quality of life and becoming overwhelmed with diets, products, training tips, and everything else. Feeling frustrated, helpless, overwhelmed during challenging behaviors, to now living a peaceful, trusting partnership with my dogs and cats. I tried to understand what my animals needed, which was impossible without understanding their emotions and energy. I am now using these tools and practices to transform relationships with dogs and cats into ones that are synergetic, where we work together and listen to each other. I honestly believe that dogs and cats are here to help us be better human beings. Are you ready to take your relationship with your animal to the next level? Form a bond built on mutual love, trust, understanding, and respect. Invest in your pet's peace, happiness, and quality of life. Enroll in synergy, heartfelt alliances between witches and their familiars. A guide for witchy dog and cat guardians. Merge with your animal's energy and collaborate to manifest your desires while increasing the well-being of both you and your animal. Pets are more than just animals. They are spiritual beings with unique personalities and energies. Do you love your dog and want to live in harmony with your dog while understanding their needs and emotions? Instead of feeling frustrated or overwhelmed by your dog's behavior, improve your relationship with your dog and help them heal from any physical, mental, or emotional issues. I offer a unique combination of positive reinforcement training methods with energy healing techniques, animal communication, and tarot. Receive a personalized action plan created by a certified dog trainer and animal communicator. This package is perfect for anyone who wants to enhance and enchant their life with their dog. Don't miss this opportunity to get this amazing package. Apply now and get ready to create a magical relationship with your dog.